Project 3, presented through My MI Strength by Vanessa Serta. Before we get started, let me tell you some background information regarding my classroom and unit. My unit is based on the most common IEP goals in my mild to moderate special day class. I currently have 18 students performing at various levels. 9 of my students are first graders and 9 of my students are second graders. I have 3 aides, 1 is a one-on-one aide. The school is a Title I school and I have several students who are homeless as stated by their IEPs. The majority of my students have autism or a specific learning disability. I decided that my unit should focus on 4 goals from 3 domains. The 3 domains are reading comprehension, reading fluency, and math. At the end of this unit, my students should be able to answer comprehension questions, read 50 Dolch sight words, count to 120 by tens, and write their numbers 1 through 120. The technology standards that we will be using are ISTE standards 1, 2, and 3. The material that will be used throughout this unit are iPads and computers with headphones, iPad and computer applications, websites, game systems, game system games, and search engines. Each of Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences are addressed in each activity to appeal to diverse learners. In order for my students to be successful in meeting the reading comprehension goal, they will use various technologies including websites, games, and apps. Students will generate word clouds based on the unit's close read to help them identify the character and setting. They will use Reading Pro to record themselves reading the text, becoming more and more comfortable with the content. They will play the Reading Tutor game on Nintendo DS to practice phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension skills. In regards to the reading fluency goal, my students will be creating a word cloud on Tuxedo, listing all of their sight words. They will reinforce their ability to read their sight words by playing reading games on ABC Mouse, as well as other reader apps for iPad, amongst many other websites and applications. Each activity appeals to at least 3 or more of the multiple intelligences. In order for my students to be successful in meeting the math computation goals, they will again be using various technologies that will help them become more confident as well as proficient. Students will use the Talking Tom application to record themselves counting to 120. Students can play back their recording and annotate if they made any mistakes, while being entertained by the high-pitched voice of a talking cat. Students will use additional iPad apps such as Kids Abacus, which allows students to use manipulatives while counting, and Chalk School, which will help students learn how to skip count and count by tens. They will use websites such as AAA Math, Primary Games, Oswego, PBS Kids, and Free Math Test to help them gain skills regarding counting and number fluency. At the end of the week, the students will be assessed in 8 categories. The categories on the rubric are as follows. The student chose not to participate. The student needed 4 or more prompts. The student needed 1 to 3 prompts. Or the student completed the task independently. The rubric is out of 28 points, maximum of 4 points per category. The first assessment is based on Quiz Revolution. Quiz Revolution is a website that would have been utilized earlier in that week. On this website, students create quizzes for their classmates. In this case, the quiz would be based on the close read for the week, which is the Statue of Liberty. Students will be required to answer literal comprehension questions. The students can score 1 to 4 points on this assessment. The next assessment is based on Wordle. Wordle is an online word generator in which students will input content from the text, and the generator will essentially create a word cloud that emphasizes the most important or most recurring words. In this case, the emphasized words should reflect the character and setting based on the close read. Students can score 1 to 4 points on this assessment. The third assessment is based on the second IEP goal, which is reading fluency. In this assessment, students will utilize the computer application Audacity. Audacity is an application that allows individuals to record themselves and add sound effects. In this case, students will record themselves reading the close read. At this point, students should be very familiar with the text. They can add as many sound effects that they like, but the sound effects will not affect their score. Students can score up to 4 points on this assessment. The fourth assessment is more of a fun, creative assessment designed to help students recall information. The students will work on this assessment with the teacher or an aide. The team will utilize the vScope Live application for iPad and take a photo standing in front of a green screen that will appear as the Statue of Liberty. Students will be able to look at the photo and think about the content that they have learned. Students can score up to 4 points on this assessment. The fifth assessment is based on the third and fourth IEP goal, math computation. In this assessment, the teacher will give each student a score based on the observation of the student utilizing the various technologies throughout the week. Students will also be given a total of 120 popsicle sticks. They will need to separate the sticks into groups of 10 and count to 120 by tens. The student can score up to 4 points on this assessment. The sixth assessment will be based on the student's use of Doceri. Doceri is an application for iPad that is an interactive whiteboard. Using Doceri, the students will draw pictures of any type of manipulative that they like. They will need to draw 120 objects and separate them into groups of 10. This will help the teacher understand the student's ability of counting by 10. The students can receive up to 4 points on this assessment. The seventh assessment will be based on the student's use of the iPad application Notes. The Notes application allows individuals to type messages and notes using a regular iPad keyboard. In this assessment, students will type their numbers from 1 to 120. The students will then share what they typed with the teacher. They can earn 1 to 4 points on this assessment. The last assessment, which is based on the fourth goal, is based on the student's use of Audacity. This is a second assessment that will utilize this specific computer application. In this assessment, students will record themselves counting up to 120. The students do not need to utilize sound effects for this assessment. At a later time, the teacher will listen to the recording and have a better indication as to what number the student can count to without making any mistakes. The student can score up to 4 points on this assessment. The biggest takeaway for me from this course is taking consideration of all the multiple intelligences and strengths that my students have and incorporating them into lessons that are not only entertaining but also educational. I really enjoyed learning about how Apple has really strived to make their products accessible to individuals with disabilities. Lastly, I have become obsessed with QR codes and plan on using them in all aspects of my teaching. Thank you for listening and watching my Project 3 presentation.